So I've been doing quite a few reviews here lately for a company called Gowutar. I did a review on the GR23, which is a green dot made for your rifle, PCC, PDW, shotgun, whatever you want to put it on. And right around the same time, I did a review on their EP10, which is a super cool enclosed emitter red dot with the RMSC footprint. And I was quite impressed with both of these optics. So I got on Gowutar's website, started looking around at some of the other options they had available, and I figured since I like that EP10 so much, we should probably do a review on the EP20. So basically, this is the bigger brother of the EP10, but this optic has the acro footprint. So let's check it out. Alright, we're over on the other bench, and we are going to go over all the specs and the features of our Gowutar EP20. Now I'm going to bring a picture up on the screen and show you everything that comes in the box, and you can pause it and check it out. So if you saw the picture of everything that comes in the box that I brought up on the screen, you saw that this comes with two mounting plates. You have one that's for the MOS system. This is what Glock uses on their Gen 5 and Gen 4 pistols, which is now pretty much obsolete that they've gone to the Gen 6. Now this plate that came with the optic is going to be the one that most of us are going to use, and this is for the RMR footprint. So basically any slide that you have that is cut for the RMR footprint, you are going to mount this to your slide first, and then you are going to mount your optic to this plate. And if you look here on the bottom, you got a recoil lug. That is going to fit right into that slot. And then over here, you have a torque screw, and you are going to tighten that down, and that is going to lock your optic onto your slide. So let's get some measurements out of the way real quick. This optic has an overall length of 1.85 inches. The width on this optic is 1.52 inches, and your height on this is 1.15 inches. And this optic's got a little bit of weight to it. It weighs in at 2.08 ounces. Now the housing on this is constructed out of 7075 T6 aluminum. It does have a hard coat anodized finish. It is shockproof up to 1500 Gs. And it has an IPX7 waterproof rating. Now this does have a side load battery. You can use a flathead screwdriver or a coin to remove the battery door, and it does run on a CR2032 battery. The battery life on this is 160 hours on max brightness and 50,000 hours on the lowest brightness setting. And this optic does have shake awake, and we will be testing that out towards the end of the video. Alright, I got the battery installed and I got the dot turned on, and this does have a 3MOA red dot. And they also have this available in a green dot version. This does not have a multi-reticle system. I do have the dot turned all the way up, and it is extremely bright, and I'm getting very little starbursting even here in the studio, which is pretty impressive. Now this optic's a little bit different than some of the other optics I review on the channel. This has 10 brightness levels, but it has 7 daytime settings and 3 NV. Normally it's only 2 NV. Now your brightness level adjustment buttons are here on the side. You've got a white arrow pointing up to increase the brightness and a white arrow pointing down to decrease the brightness. If you want to turn the optic off, you're going to hold the down arrow for about 3 seconds and the optic will shut off. You hit the up button and it will turn back on. Just remember, if you manually shut the optic off, well, you just shut off the shake awake as well. So if this is just going to go in the safe for a day or two, just leave it alone, let the shake awake do its thing. But if you're going to be storing it long term, go ahead and manually shut off the optic. Now, from what I can see in the studio, this has got some really nice clear glass. It does have multi-coated lenses, and the lens size on this is 24.1 by 17.3 millimeters. Pretty decent sized window for an enclosed emitter red dot. Alright, one thing I like to do in every one of these optic review videos is test our windage and elevation to see how tactile and audible the clicks are. Now the windage on this is really easy to see. You've got an R with an arrow pointing down. You do have 45 MOA of total travel on the windage and on the elevation. And they are 1 MOA per click. So let's test the windage first. Not bad. They are tactile. I can feel each stop in between each click. Not very audible. Let's check our elevation. Not too bad. About the same. Not real audible, but you can definitely feel each click. So the gun I chose to put the EP20 on is my Ruger RXM. This gun's kind of become one of my most used optic testers on the channel. And that's because the RXM has a very versatile optic mounting system. And even though I didn't really like this gun too well when I very first got it, now that Magpul's come out with the full-size frame and all the super cool parts that I've put on this from the Liberty Build Company, this gun has slowly been growing on me, and I'm actually starting to like it quite a bit. Now, when I first unboxed these optics in the studio, the way they look and the way they perform in the studio is normally a little different once I get it out to the range. Sometimes an emitter on the optic in the studio is super bright, but once you get it out to the range on a sunny day, it might not be bright enough. The other issue with all these optics that I review, a lot of times they tend to starburst worse here in the studio because I have pretty bad astigmatism. But once I get an optic out to the range, that starbursting cuts down some because I'm outdoors. And I'm happy to report with this EP20 that the optic is plenty bright enough, but I did run it on the highest brightness setting. But even with it maxed out on brightness, I was getting very little starbursting, and that tends to be the case with a lot of these enclosed emitter dots that I test on the channel. Now, once I got some targets set up and I got this optic zeroed in, I was quite impressed with the window size on this optic. Sometimes when it comes to enclosed emitter dots, especially with the acro footprint, because you've got that big beefy housing, it cuts down on the window size quite a bit. Especially a few years ago when these budget acro footprint dots first started coming out, the windows were quite small. It was like looking through a tunnel. But here lately, with all these new budget enclosed emitter dots, they're making the windows bigger, but they're still not sacrificing the rugged housing. And that's the case with this EP20. You got quite a bit of that 70-75 aluminum protecting the glass on this optic. And the glass on this is quite wide. Now, I would have liked to seen it just a little bit taller, but all in all, it works just fine. Now, as far as the glass goes, nice clear glass, just like the EP10 that I reviewed. And it does have just the slightest blue tint, but I am quite impressed with the glass quality on this. Now, after I got the optic sighted in and I shot a couple mags through the gun to get a feel for the gun with this optic, I wanted to shoot some 10-shot groups. So after I shot the first two 10-shot groups, I went back to the truck, put the tailgate down, and started racking the slide with the optic off the tailgate of my truck. Because it hasn't happened in a while, But sometimes the trade-off with an acro footprint dot, because you are mounting it to a plate, sometimes they'll loosen up. But I'm happy to report that was not the case with this EP20. I went back and shot another 10-shot group, and I never lost zero on the optic. Now, after I shot the 10-shot groups, I wanted to transition over to my USPSA and steel targets, put 2 shots on each target, and transition to the next one. And I was having zero issues with this nice wide window, transitioning from the USPSA targets to the steel targets. And I was able to keep all my hits on steel and keep the majority of my shots in the A zone. I did have a couple C zone shots, but all in all, I was quite impressed. So let's get into the pros and cons with the Gowutar EP20. And we'll hit the cons first. The first con, this has the acro footprint. And the issue with this footprint is that you have to mount a plate to your slide. In this case, it's an RMR to acro footprint adapter. And even though it's proven to be a reliable and rugged platform, the biggest issue is how high up it puts the optic. Now, the Ruger RXM comes with some pretty tall sights. And if you direct mount an RMR footprint optic to this, and that optic goes down, well, you can still co-witness your iron sights. But when you put this optic on here, well, it doesn't matter how tall your sights are, they're not going to work with this setup. And it's not just this optic, it's quite a few of the enclosed emitter dots with the acro footprint that I've tested on the channel. The next con with this is that it doesn't have multi-reticle. Now, it's not a con for me because I really don't care about dots and circles. I just want a nice, crisp red dot or green dot, but there are a lot of people out there that are going to want a multi-reticle. Well, this does not have that. And the next con with this is kind of a con and a pro at the same time. They actually make a green dot version of this optic. In fact, that's what I requested, but they didn't have any available to send out for me to review. So that's why I got the red dot version. And as of the time I'm filming this video, I have gotten online because Gowutar does sell their optics through Amazon, and the green dot version is sold out right now. But if you want to wait, I'm sure they will be coming back in stock soon, and you'll be able to get a green version of this. And the last con, which is not a con for me because I actually love this style of battery compartment. But a lot of people complain about the looks of these because, one, they kind of hang off over the side of the optic and it just doesn't really make things look uniform. I don't care about that. I just want an easy battery to swap out, and that's exactly what we have here with this one. But I will give Gowutar credit on this. They've actually kept this pretty flush to the side of the optic. Some of these really stick off the side. And the cool thing is the way they designed the cap, you can use a Phillips head screwdriver, a flathead, a coin, pretty much anything you got in your pocket to take this off. Now, as far as pros go, there are a lot of pros when it comes to this optic. One, it's an enclosed emitter dot. They're a lot easier to keep clean. And for me personally, all my carry guns from here on out are going to have enclosed emitter dots on them. When you have an open emitter dot and it's sitting like this in your holster, it collects lint, dirt, dust all day long. And then when you get home at night and you take your gun out of the holster, well, you're trying to get in there and clean that optic out. Granted, you can use Q-tips, small little lens cleaning tools, I get it, but it's just so much easier to take your shirt and just wipe off the back of the glass. The other pro with this is the 7075 aluminum body around the glass. And the finish they put on it is quite good. Even after racking that multiple times off the tailgate of my truck, it actually didn't even scratch the finish on the front of the optic. The next pro with this are the brightness level adjustment buttons on the body. They're not the best looking buttons on an optic, but they are very well protected because when you look at it from this angle, you do have two small torque screws on each side of it, and those are actually sticking out just a little bit further than the buttons themselves, so you're not going to accidentally be bumping your brightness levels up or down, or worst case scenario, shutting the optic off. And my last pro with this optic is the price. You're getting an enclosed emitter dot, a very bright reticle. It's not the brightest, but it's bright. You're getting a side load battery, and you're getting all of this for under 200 beans, which is awesome. But with that being said, I do want to give Gowutar some constructive criticism here. Pretty much all the budget optics that are coming out right now are offering a lifetime warranty. And the problem with Gowutar is they're only offering a 3-year warranty, which they really need to turn that into a lifetime warranty. Because it does matter. And there are going to be people out here looking to buy a budget optic, and they're going to go to another company and see that they offer a lifetime warranty, and the optics are priced about exactly the same. Well, guess who they're going to go with? So, that's just something I want you to take into consideration. But all in all, it's a great optic. I definitely recommend it. I've had 0 issues with it so far. Now I just got to find a permanent home for it because, well, the RXM, I like testing optics with it. Well, I hope you enjoyed the video. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.